sleep at night. You pray to me, your lucky star, you're singing satellite.
Why, hello there everybody, welcome to Mad Middle Guy Videos channel, here bringing you some tech review. So here we go, we're going to be reviewing my gaming rig. Now, to go over the specs of my rig, it is an AMD platform base, so it has a AMD motherboard, and it actually has an Asus M5 A97 revision 2.0 motherboard. Really nice motherboard. It comes with a lot of good features. Supports the AM3 Plus socket. It has the AMD FX-8350 in there, running at 4 gigahertz, with the stock cooler right now, 4 to 4.2 gigahertz. I have 12 gigs of RAM, kind of an odd amount of RAM, but I originally had 8 gigs of RAM in there, and then I put two extra 2 gig sticks in there, but they're all running at 1600 megahertz, so it's just fine. And yeah, so 12 gigs of RAM running at 1600 megahertz. The next thing I have is an Nvidia GTX 660. It's actually the EVGA edition with 2 gigabytes of video memory, 960 CUDA cores, 192-bit memory interface, max memory bandwidth of 144 gigabits a second, but I overclock it a little bit on the memory. Stock core speed is actually about 1132 or something like that, 37 I think megahertz, but the memory itself is stock clocked at 6 gigahertz. I overclock it to 6.6 gigahertz or 6600 megahertz. So yeah, I do a little boost of a memory performance there. So I have about 158 gigabits a second memory bandwidth. Now, yeah, so that just helps out a tiny bit in games. Not too much, but we're going to go over gaming performance in a little bit. Anyway, let's talk about storage and where my C drive is located. Well, I have a 240 gigabyte Kingston HyperX 3K SSD. It's a pretty nice SSD. It runs just nice, and it's for Windows. I put Windows on it, and everything else that most programs I use go on there. But I do have some games on there, and some games on my 1 terabyte 5400 Toshiba HDD. It was actually a laptop HDD I salvaged from my old build, or my old laptop actually. And yeah, I just put it in. Didn't feel like buying a new HDD, so I just put it in and go. And then I have for power supply, I have a Corsair CX600M. Really nice power supply. It's modular, 600 watt, 80 plus bronze. And yeah, for the case, I chose a Cougar solution. Many people know Cougar, but many people don't. It's not a really good aesthetically pleasing build or case, but I like it because it has mounts for 2 fans in the front, which is really key to my kind of style. Is I like a lot of airflow going through the build. So I have 2 fans in the front intake, one on the top for intake and one on the back for exhaust. So that's kind of like my fan setup real fast. And I get plenty of fresh air into the system. So yeah, and other than that, that's my build. Alright guys, let's get to the performance review, gaming performance review. Now I'm going to do 3 different three different types of analysis on this computer, where I'm going to go over gaming performance, temperatures, and video editing render times. So here we go. Gaming performance. There should be some video of games popping up. as we speak. So first, let's start off with my favorite video game, Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2 is not the most demanding game, but can get pretty demanding during battles and a lot of action going on. So just walking around, I get 100 FPS, around there, 100 to 110, sometimes in the 90s. But when I get into battles, the minimum FPS I've seen is like 50, maybe 40, high 40s-ish here and there. But this is with physics off, maxed out 1080p. All these games are maxed out 10, or I'll tell you the settings, but they're all 1080p VSync off. So with Borderlands 2, you're getting about 100 FPS minimum. That's 110 maximum, minimum 45, and average 60. So yeah, and then that's it. Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2, I get about, actually pretty high FPS in Black Ops 2. But basically I get around, with maxed out and a lot of anti-aliasing and anisotropic filtering, I get about 90 to 120 FPS in time. Minimum being like 70, average being 90, and maximum being 120. That game is just really optimized for PC and plays really well on this computer. Anyway, let's move on. Saints Row 3 and 4. This is 1080p maxed out settings on Ultra. I get about anywhere from the high 40s to the low 60s. It's not that much of a demanding game, but for some reason it's just it takes a toll on the graphics card, and basically we get those frame rates anywhere from high 40s to low 60s. Mainly stays in the 50s, low 50s to high 50s. So yeah. All right. Skyrim. Everyone loves Skyrim. I run a modded version of Skyrim. It's a little modded, but not too much. On this card, I get anywhere from 50 to like 70. Now I'm playing this at maxed out, except I'm turning down the anti-aliasing and anisotropic filtering at 2x and 4x. So yeah. And then so those are at 2x and 4x, and I get anywhere from 50 to 70 FPS in games, which is nice. It's not bad. And yeah, it works. So yeah. And then let's talk about another game. Let's see, what else can we talk about? What other game is there? Oh well, I guess that'll be it for the performance review. It gets pretty good performance at 1080p. It's solid. You can play most games at high and or ultra sometimes, and just works. So yeah. Anyway guys, let's get to the temperature portion of this review. So for temperatures, at idle, now I have two fans in the front pulling in fresh air directly to the card. So at idle, the minimum temperature I see was like 29 degrees Celsius, and the max temperature at idle was 36, but it usually hovers around 31 to 33 on idle. Under load, depending on what game I'm playing, depending on the more taxing games like Skyrim, Borderlands 2, to less taxing games like Borderlands 1 and other games, basically the lowest on the untaxing game, the lowest temperature I've seen in under load is about 68 degrees Celsius. That was playing Borderlands 1, and Borderlands 1 isn't that demanding at all, and with newer cards. The highest temperature I've seen under load is 74. 74 degrees. The fan does spin up quite rapidly, and it does make some noise. So yeah, it does make noise. Anyway, that's under load temperatures, gaming load that is. It's pretty much the same there out for editing, except the CPU gets a little bit warmer. CPU temps, by the way, I should mention, anywhere from 39 to 41 under idle. Under load, I've seen it go up to like the 50s, which is not bad at all for the stock cooler, but still not something you want to stay at. So yeah. And now let's talk about video editing and rendering performance. I took my usual video. It's a 40-minute long video that I rendered out on my desktop, or old desktop, my old laptop, and now I'm re-rendering it on this one. And with Sony Vegas Pro 13 and using CUDA acceleration, I renders the 40-minute video. This machine renders it in about 35 minutes. Now, it's a gameplay video, so there's a lot of going on. It's at 30 FPS at 720p with post-processing turned off. Or no, resampling, my bad. And compared to my laptop, that would render it in about 26 minutes, which is amazing. But yeah, my old desktop, which would render it in 45 minutes, sadly. But yeah, so yeah, that's video editing and rendering performance. It usually does a little bit better than real time most of the time, depending on what resolution, frames per second, and if you have resampling on or off. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit different test. We're going to do the SSD test, where I'm going to be testing out how fast the Kingston HyperX 3K is. So the Kingston HyperX 3K is a 240 gigabyte SSD. It's a really nice SSD. And with a crystal disk test, I see anywhere from a read to about 500 or ish, around there. It was like 510 or something like that. But then again, all SSDs will vary based on your system, because if you're using an Intel system, you get better. If you're using, like, it just depends on your platform and what SATA controller you have. Writes, however, gets about 300, in the 300s, usually 360-ish. And yeah, that works. It's a pretty solid SSD. I can't lie there. And then my HDD usually gets around 110 to 100 read and write. That's just how fast they are. They can't get any faster than that. But yeah. Anyway, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap up the video here. Okay, this was my build review. We went over 4 things: gaming, temperatures, video editing, and system disk tests. Anyway, guys, it's Mad Metal Guy Videos, and I am signing off. Adios.
You're half a world away, but in my